I didn't know what homosexuality was. It wasn't a discussion in the 1950s. And when I started working, I was attracted to a man that worked in the mill that I did, but didn't realise it were homosexual attraction. My father noticed it. My dad and this young man colluded to get this lady, this young girl, to my sister's wedding, and of course I was introduced to her. And we courted each other 2 years and then eventually got married, 3 nice children, and we lived perfectly all right. Funnily enough, how it started, I called in a shop for a packet of cigarettes, and as I looked up, there were a bodybuilding magazine. When I opened the magazine, walking on my way back to the mill, a little piece of paper fell out. It were written by the man who had the shop. If you're inclined, I have other magazines of a similar type. I went back into the shop later, showed him this piece of paper. He took me into the little room at the back of the shop, and that, more or less, kicked it off. I started going then to Dewsbury Turkish bath and met men in there. That went on for 12 months. And then I arrived home from work at Saturday morning. My wife was stood in the kitchen. The 3 children had the coats on. And she said, "I've had enough of this. We're off." And that was it. I was living with my mother and father. Funnily enough, there'd been an article in the Sunday People the week before about the pub in Leeds, which was then called the Hope and Anchor. Went in there and I was chatting to the landlord and looking over this young man standing there. The landlord just commented to me, "You're not listening to me, you're looking at him." So I went and talked to him, and it went on from there. Ronnie had bronchial pneumonia when he was a little boy, but he was left weakened. When he was 56, he had a heart problem, and he didn't eat a right lot, and he was always ready for falling asleep. And he gradually faded and faded down. When we realised we'd been together 40 years, we organised a little party in our tower block. And he sat there for a while, and then he said, "I'm going upstairs." And when I got upstairs, he was in bed and he was asleep. The following morning, I'd got up just before him. I heard him go into the toilet. I followed, and as he was coming out of the toilet, I looked at him. I said, "I think I'll have to do something about it, love." I said, "You look terrible." He was rushed straight into hospital with pneumonia. And the nurse attending to him, she came out, she said, "Has Ronnie any relations?" I said, "Well," I said, "he has a sister and a nephew." She said, "I think it'd be advisable if you could contact them." And I just said, "Why?" "Well, do, will you?" Then she came out again. She said, "Would you like to come back in?" I went back into the ward. I could see they'd just been doing compressions on his chest. One young lady looked at the doctor and I saw her do that. And I said, "Is he dead?" He said, "Yes." He says, "I'm afraid to tell you." He says that he is. When I was married, I thought that would go on forever. I didn't consider I'd finish up living with a man. They use the expression coming out. I've watched how the countries come out. It's far easier to be accepted these days as it was in the 1950s.